evening, everyone. Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live, Season 1, Episode 22. Very special guest, JoeBrett from K5YVY Amateur Radio. JoeBrett, how are you this evening?
Doing good. You did great with the call sign. A lot of people get tongue twisted on that.
That is a tongue twister. That really was. Well, before I got my extra, my original call sign was a real tongue twister. It was one. Yeah, I'm real glad I got it. I'm an amateur that I don't have to worry about that as well. So yeah, what we do here, JoeBrett, just to let you know, and I think you watched Shane last week. Yeah, we just spent some time just really kind of chatting, finding out about you, how you got started in ham radio, and some of your passions and likes and everything, and where you see ham radio going. So, and that's really kind of one of the first questions I asked is how you got started in ham radio.
How I got started in the ham radio was a lot like a story I think a lot of folks have had was emergency communications, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
My dad always had 11 meters in the house when I was growing up and always had a scanner. I never really caught the CV bug, but I grew up with it. And the scanner, I started noticing I would hear people when the storms would get bad, I'd hear these guys on the scanner giving storm reports and stuff. And I was not only am I a little radio computer nerd, I'm a little bit of a weather nerd, a little bit too. So all that interests me. So I decided I want to do what these guys are doing. And as I dug into it, I realized they're ham radio operators. They're talking on repeaters. And that's what wrote the check for me and introduced me. But of course, as I started studying for that technician license, I started learning about all these other things you could do with the radio. And it wasn't just storm reports, and it's just grown from there and still going.
Well, it's and I got to say it's the same for me. When I moved to Florida from Ohio back in 2011, and everybody said you got to have something to back up communications in Florida because cell towers can go down, and you need to be able to communicate, especially because we get hit with a lot of hurricanes down here. So that's how I ended up diving into it, and I dove into it headlong, and that really propelled me into having some fun with this. You have a great channel, and you do a variety of great content out there, and you have some fun, and and we were just talking before the show started. One of the big reasons I like ham radio, and I think it's one of the best, if not the best, hobbies out there, it's to have fun. I know, JoeBrett, you don't take yourself too seriously. I know Shane, when I had him on, and all the other guests that I've had on, they don't take themselves too seriously. But one of the things I think is a common thread is liking to help each other. And I know that's one of the reasons why I started my channel, is to be able to get some videos out there, just to explain things very basic, high level to people. I'm basically curious as to you starting your YouTube channel. What propelled you to do that?
Well, I mean, to reflect on what you said about helping, that's throughout when I started studying for my license, we'll go all the way back to there. Went to a semi-local radio club to take my test, and I just kind of showed up at this place, and the guys there, several of them really took me under their wing and mentored me, I guess you could say, and bought my first radio from one of the guys there.
Oh, wow.
And so that guy kind of set the stone. His name was Bobby, and he gave me a very fair price on a brand new 2-meter Kenwood that was still in the box. It was just extra to him. And along the way, if I needed connectors for this, that, it's just the local guys I've become friends with close to the house. Just started, if I had a connector they needed or whatever it may be, hey, we'll pass it on to each other and help each other out. And going into the YouTube thing, really, I had no intentions of really being on YouTube. As I said, I'm a little bit of a computer geek. I'm just a nerd, and I like anything that has a power cord. When a lot of people go into antique shops, they're looking at all the old vintage. I'm not interested unless it's got a something to plug into the wall, right? And that's when I get interested in it. But so YouTube started for me doing some live streams, and they were really awful video quality and probably audio quality as well. But it was just me sitting here in the shack and just seeing if I could do it. A lot of things in my ham radio interest is just to see if I can do it. And so that's what I had done. I didn't realize I had done so many. Let's just see if we can live stream it. And I was usually doing some little casual contesting or something. And then 100 Watts in a Wire, you may have seen that podcast show, started out as a podcast, and he went to YouTube, and I'd started watching that show. And he had started doing a Saturday morning show, but an hour before the main show, he would have like a meet and greet thing where he'd have different people on that would be in the chat if they wanted to come on for 5 minutes. And I started doing that and getting a little comfortable in that and having fun with it. And then this guy named Jason, he runs this little YouTube show called Ham Radio 2.0, had made a comment. I wasn't really listening. I was watching the show, listening to it, but on my other screen, I was doing something else. And I just heard him say during one of his happy hours, "Hey, if you want to come on the show, shoot me an email." Okay, so I immediately said, 100 Watts in a Wire is fun. I'll come on for your show for 5 minutes, say hello. And then I get there. Of course, he replies, "Okay, what's your channel?" Well, I tell him my channel, so he still invites me on. But then when we get on screen, I start noticing the title of the video, the YouTubers happy hours, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a fan, right? So, but I rolled with it, and the community's so great. I just kept going. And when you talk about YouTube, how many times do we go to YouTube as much as we do Google to look for something we're wondering about? And so I've kind of I haven't done a lot of live streaming lately, mainly because my work hours, but I went to doing little reviews here, or if I find something interesting, that's the ones I really enjoy, is just something I stumble upon that I really personally found interesting, that I think the viewers would find interesting as well. And I feel like before I make a video, I need to really like the video before I think somebody else may like it, but and having fun in doing that. But at the same time, I want to put something out there from my perspective of how I figured something out. So maybe somebody that's searching for that same question in their head may figure it out too. They may get confused watching me, but they may stumble upon Bill's video, the same thing, and go, I got it. So it's good that everybody has different perspectives as well.
Yeah. And, one of the things, and I kind of talked about this just a little bit, but I really kind of want to touch on this. I have another channel that I cover drone content. All right. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I found, I have some really good friends here, like I do on YouTube, ham radio. But, it's more of a cutthroat kind of a thing. Yeah. And it's kind of dog eat dog, and who's going to get the first video out, and who's going to get this drone the first, and who's, it's just a real heavy competition here. And, that's one thing I really like about ham radio on YouTube is, what? There's no competition here. All right. For example, DJI, the drone manufacturer, released a drone yesterday, or on two. Yeah. I'm getting days of the week confused here. They released a drone yesterday. So in what they do is, the ones that have the larger channels, they send them a drone for free at least a month at a time to do video reviews on. Okay. And so come 9 o'clock when the drone's released, there's at least, 200 reviews are hitting out at 9 o'clock yesterday. And it's dog eat dog competition, all this kind of stuff. And it's such a breath of fresh air coming over here to YouTube for ham radio. Okay.
Yeah.
I can say this, two of the channels where I've learned so much from Jason, that little ham radio 2.0 guy, channel, is absolutely fantastic. I say that in jest, but I've learned so much from his channel, and Josh from Ham Radio Crash Course. These guys are not about, they're not about patting themselves on the back. They're out there, they're promoting our hobby, and they're doing just an incredible job at being able to do it. And, like with Jason, he covers everything from new products to sales to, new antennas to new rigs. Just, I mean, Josh does the same thing, and all these guys are specialized. Like Michael Martins, I had him on, and absolutely love his channel. And he really, I call him the FT891 expert, because
Yeah.
he really he has that rig down absolutely pat. And he's come up with some great ideas. That screen for have you seen a screen antenna videos?
Yeah, for the counterpoise deal.
For the counterpoise, yeah.
Yeah.
What a genius. I mean, and it's not rocket science. And these guys, I that's what I love about that. Mike K8MRD, okay,
Mm-hmm.
he makes me laugh a lot more than cry, that's for sure. But he
Yeah.
puts out some great content. Smoke and Abe, all these guys, and that's like I said. And for me, just to kind of let you know, and I think I touched on it, I was 3 days away from being able to go to Hamvention up in Dayton, and I was really looking forward to meeting Jason and Josh and Mike and Smoke and Ape and everybody. And then I had the broken hand happened, so I couldn't go. So I was real frustrated, because, and my wife is here alongside. She's not a ham, but she does a lot of the video filming for my channel, and really helps me out a lot with production. And I really appreciate her doing that. So, but it's like it gets back to the whole aspect of, these guys are in it not for the glory. They're in it to help others, and and they're also in it to have some great fun with other fellow ham YouTubers. And I really kind of like that. It's like, I think that's what I find that's missing over on the drone side, that's
Yeah.
here on the ham radio side, is these guys have fun. When they get together, as you'll experience at Huntsville, these guys just have a ball there, and a good time. And I know they did that up in Dayton, and I know when Orlando comes around, I'll be able to get up there and see them. So that's not, that's going to be an awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
So JoeBrett, what do you have in your shack as far as rigs and equipment is concerned?
Well, I'm glad you narrowed that down, because I don't know what all I got in here. But as far as radios, the main stuff that I use, I just got, we was about to throw away a bunch of radios at work, and I got a few of them. So I just got a, you can't see it really because this up under my rotator controller, but this is a Kenwood TK 7000 something model. But anyway, it's a VHF 2 meter. Just got the programming and stuff for it, playing around with it. It's kind of just something neat to have. And it's a radio that I don't mind leaving hooked up to the coax all the time. So, but the other is the 705. I actually use the 705 in the shack primarily for 2 meters. And I made a video about that because it's not sold for a base station radio. But I had a lot of mental fighting with what I wanted. I had always wanted the 9700 since it came out. And I've saved money a couple times for that, but life happened and I had to spend that money for something else. So finally I was able to save up the money once again, and here it was to make a decision. The 9700 as a base radio makes a lot of sense, right? But the 705, I just so happens there was this thing, some people may have heard of it, Parts on the Air. There's a few people that do that around the nation and world. So I had started getting interested in portable work, and I didn't really want to lug around my 7300. So I got to thinking, I've already got 2 meter amplifiers sitting in the shack, and my big boy amplifier, I call it, is about a 300 watt VHF amplifier. So I take the 705 and it's RF sensed amplifier. So all I got to do is hook the coax up to it. So I can talk, QRP on 2 meters, or I can flip the switch and with, I think 15 watts coming out of the 705, I'm maxed out at 300 out of the antenna. So I got to thinking, I said, well, right there, that's it. I can unhook this thing, take it portable when I want to go to a park or on vacation, and it just made a lot of sense in my particular situation. So that's why I went with it. So main HF radio, I've already kind of mentioned 7300 ICOM. Bought it several years ago. I'm really interested, and my purchase this year was going to be one of the new Yaesu HF radios, because I'm more of an ICOM fan, evidently. I truly I'm a Kenwood fan, but they're kind of gotten out of the spotlight. But the Yaesu, one thing that's undeniable, no matter what radio you like, is in that class of radio to sit on your desktop, the filtering on those radios. Kenwood's got the audio down. ICOM's got the user-friendly menus and good audio, and Yaesu just has the receive audio. That's, to me, that's their perk on their radios. So I was really thinking about that, but I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer. I made another purchase for the house instead of a radio, but we'll see what I come up with while we're at Huntsville.
Well, that's one of the you really summed it real well with Kenwood and ICOM and Yaesu, as far ICOM with user friendly menus and the filtering on Yaesu radios is just off the charts. It's just fantastic, and Kenwood has had a solid reputation. Although they're just coming out, they're going to be coming out with a new HT sometime later this year, which is real interesting. And kind of like was earth shattering. I'm like, hello, Kenwood's coming out with something. I thought that they were 6 feet under.
Yeah.
I was really pleasantly surprised with that. And, one of the things that I really like about when new radios come out, say, when Josh or Jason will get a radio. See, in the drone world, what happens, the manufacturer, like DJI, for example, they'll give you that drone and it's yours to keep, but you pretty much gotta walk the walk and talk the talk. And you sign an agreement, before you're not going to reveal anything until the release. But what I like about when Josh or Jason get radios to review, these aren't theirs to keep. They go back to either Gigaparts or HRO or DX Engineering. And I love that because it's really, they really give unbiased reviews. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We may have a slant towards Yaesu or ICOM or Kenwood, but they really do a great job, and that's what I see from a lot of people around here. Although one of the common things I hear a lot is menus on Yaesu radios are it's like the devil sometimes. You're like the 891, for example. That to learn the menu system on that, probably need a PhD. I mean, that's it's just one of those kinds of things. And you mentioned looking at Huntsville. One of the things that we're having a local one here, a local ham fest here. I live in the Tampa, Florida area. We're having a local one coming up in middle of August, and I think I'm going to take a run down there. I'm looking for an Elecraft tuner. It's just like it's like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, looking for the Holy Grail kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trying to find one of those tuners. It's like when you see it, you better lay your hand on it, grab it, and have cash in hand, because otherwise it's just going to be gone. I know. Well, who got me started on it? T.O. Okay, he's like, this is like the best thing since about sliced bread. So you really need this if you can find it. And I didn't know. I was like, oh, I just go to their website and get it, and it's just like, no. I didn't realize how popular their tuners were. So that's one of my items that used items that I'm looking for whenever I go to a ham fest. So, which hopefully we'll get to this one here in August. And you mentioned things, prioritizing things and trying to save and budget for the shack, and then things come up at the house, and it's like that's part of that. That's part of life. It's reality. It's one of those things. It's just like, oops. What's like the other day, or the other week, we've lived in our house for like 2 years now, and we have a 2-year-old washer, and it just went completely upside down, and it's only 2 years old. And I negotiated with Best Buy, and they gave me $100 off on a new one. and they'll throw it in under their extended warranty. So I did that. These kind of things kind of
Yeah.
come up, which I'm sure you're really well aware. So you're planning on going to Huntsville, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Hopefully everything, nothing changes, but we'll be there. We'll
Now
be coming in on Wednesday.
you're going to be driving.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Luckily, I'm blessed that Huntsville is only just right at 3 hours or a little less from
Oh
me. So
wow,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
and
because
it really helps. And that's why Gigaparts is my store, because when I order my radios, I'm so close. I don't have to pay for next day shipping because it just gets here the next day. So
it'll get there.
yeah,
That's so nice. Well, I have an HRO over in the Orlando area in Winter Haven, which is really nice. So if I really need to get something, it's about an hour and a half from where I live here in Tampa. But it's nice that it's there in case I really try to get something. And in their shipping, it's about as fast as yours. Like if almost all the time, if it's in stock there, I'll get it like next day or two in 2 days at the latest, which is
yeah.
really nice to be able to do that. So you have any plans on hanging out with some of the guys down there?
That is the main plan.
All right.
We kind of joke a little bit that the Hamfest is actually the second reason we go. It's getting together and seeing everybody and hanging out, and I'd like to touch on that a little bit because I
Sure.
noticed a lot of times, and I didn't know this until my first time going to Huntsville and seeing some of the other YouTubers, how much work they're actually putting in to grab some videos with vendors and different products that they see. I noticed the past couple of years, I've noticed there's been a few folks that think that some of the YouTubers didn't have time to say hello or kind of brush them off. And it's really not that. It's you got limited time, you're there for limited time to try to get these products and talk to some of these vendors. And these guys, some of them are doing this for a full-time job. So they're working, so don't be offended. Try to run into them at another spot, and maybe they're not so busy, or come out to Monte Sano to the park and hang out for hours with us. So we love to, anybody loves to meet new folks and hang out for sure. But yeah, we always enjoy this. That's the best part. My wife actually goes with me every year. She doesn't like. She supports me well in my hobby, but she has no interest in it. Okay, so I think that makes sense. And it's surprising. That's actually, we've made that our anniversary trip, because our anniversary is actually in August, and so that's what we call our anniversary trip. She has such a good time hanging out and meeting everybody.
See, that's and I think I can speak the same thing of my wife. I don't ever see her even getting a tech license.
Yeah.
I wish she would. I think that would be real helpful, and I can get her an HT so we can stay in touch. But her being supportive, your wife being supportive of you and your hobby, that's one thing I've always counted on from my wife. She's supportive in both, my ham radio hobby and my drone hobby, which is great. I mean, that you can't beat that. Plus, it's killing two birds with one stone. It's an anniversary trip as well, and you get to spend some time together, and it's just you guys, and then spending some time and hanging out with some of the greatest guys on the face of this earth. They're just a lot of fun people. One of the funner people that I've had on the channel, I've had Frank on, and Frank just absolutely cracks me up. Okay. I was sitting there. Well, it was funny. It was about 10 after, and somebody in the chat said, you know what? I'm going to ping Frank because I think he probably doesn't realize what time it is. Okay. And he comes on. Oh, I'm so sorry, Bill. I'm so sorry. I thought it was an hour. Yeah, he got confused with the time, but he ended up coming on. He's great. I absolutely love him. He's a character too.
Bucket of energy. Yeah.
Yes. He's like, well, I told him, I said, you're 5-hour energy without the 5-hour energy. Okay.
Yeah.
really
He doesn't-
nail that to a T.
He doesn't have to purchase that on the counter. He's got it.
No,
naturally.
he does not. What's real interesting is, I'm getting ready to finally I've been, my shack. Okay. My shack is really a portable kind of a shack. Okay. Because I live in an HOA, and then I probably found the HOA Haven channel, Bob's channel, HOA Ham.
Yeah.
He just nails it, and I've had him on. He actually lives about 45 minutes away from me, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And he's finally given me a great idea because we're allowed to have flagpoles where I live, okay, in our community up to 20 feet. And Chameleon has that new system. It's an interlocking one, and all you got to do is set it within 2 feet of concrete, and you use it for a flag. You have to use it for a flagpole, of course, here in the community, but you can also use that and run, get your nice, wonderful antenna up there as well too. So, I'm finally going to go ahead and do that. I was all set to get something done about that. Then, life gets in the way kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, my equipment's ready to rock and roll, ready to go. It's just like, not going to happen. Well, I had been using a Chameleon MPass 2.0. It was good. It's a great portable antenna. As a permanent antenna, probably not so much, but it can get you on the air if you need to get on the air. It can get you on the air. That's
Absolutely.
how I look at something like that. I'm going to have Bob on again, and I'd like to get him over to kind of get some input on where I'm going to be putting things as far as getting things set up. He really knows. He's an expert. Well, he just did a new video. There's a new antenna coming out from Chameleon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming out in August, and that's something I'm like really excited about that. And I'll tell you what, JoeBrett, if I'm weak in the knees about anything with ham radio, it's antennas. Okay.
Yeah.
I open up a drawer. I have it's my end-fed wave drawer. Okay. I have 6 or 7 of them there. I've got some dipoles. It's just like going to the candy store as a kid.
Yeah.
My weakness is antennas. And I'm always searching, quote unquote, for the perfect antenna, which I know doesn't exist. But you know what? And I say this, all kidding aside, it all depends on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing POTA here, if you're doing SOTA somewhere, if you're operating portable out of your house or permanent from your house, propagation, everything. I mean, there's just a million factors to take into consideration with this.
Exactly. And I try to make that a point in a video that I done when I put my 80-meter full wave loop up. I put the tape measure to it the best I could, in the lowest spot, that thing's only like 13 feet off the ground, just high enough for the UPS truck to get under when it comes to the driveway. And if you ask somebody if an 80-meter loop 15 to 20 feet off the ground is going to be worth your time, a lot of people's going to tell you absolutely not. You're just burning the clouds up, right? It's going to be a NVIS. And well, I just put it up and tried it, and just so happens, I guess, with my soil type and the stuff around my antenna, I don't, whatever variables is there, the thing works excellent. I work all across the states. I work other countries. I have a Gap Titan DX vertical that I've used for many, many years. And when I put up this 80-meter loop, it was almost like I put up a Yagi. Signals were so much stronger. And now, don't get me wrong, depending on where that other station is at, sometimes they're much stronger on the vertical, but I find that the loop works better at most times. So that's become my primary antenna. So I try to tell people and encourage them, try it. Wherever you're at, put it up. If you put that 80-meter loop up the same height that I did at your place, Bill, it may not be worth a darn.
Yeah.
And I learned that talking about portable antennas, just like you said. I got the Buddy Stick Pro. I tuned it up, when it come out. I put it out in the yard. I got it all tuned up. I made notes. So when I went to the park, I could just put it back exactly where it's going. And I get to the park and follow my notes and put it up exactly like I had it at home, and it's nowhere close. I had to retune it all over again because I'm at a different location. But that's right. If it gets you on the air, it's working. So
yeah, exactly. If it gets you on the air, it's working. And it's see, that's one of the things. It's kind of we kind of have a saying, over in the drone community is, what drone should I use? Well, use the one you got. Okay.
Yeah.
Because everybody's talking about what ifs. Okay. And well, the new drone that came out yesterday, people are already talking about, oh yeah, well they'll be coming out with a successor, or a new model of that 3 months down the road. And I said, you know what? We're not promised tomorrow. We're promised today. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, use this and enjoy this. And, one of the other things that I find real interesting here is, with ham radio, especially, is I'm able to kind of combine my hobbies, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I've seen several guys who have used drones, and instead of, you know, throwing a line up over a tree to get an end fed up there are several drones that you can buy attachments on Amazon to have drop mechanisms on them.
Yeah.
And you just, bring that line up there with that weight, do a perfect drop over a tree branch, and you pull up your antenna in the tree and boom, you're done. I mean, it's as easy as pie. Cause I know, you know, I can still throw pretty well, but throwing, I could probably throw it up, say, over a 25-foot branch, but a 50 or 75-foot branch, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And that's why I really like being able to do that. And I know some guys that have done that. And I also know a guy who, with one of the really smaller drones, he attached an antenna to the bottom of it. He tied it, and he sent the drone about 150 feet up in the air. He had a lot of wire, and he was on the air until that drone ran out of battery.
Right.
And see, these are the fun things. And one of the things T.O. said when I first had him on, ham radio is the hobby of 1,000 hobbies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so right, because, there are so many different areas that you can kind of branch to and delve into, if you want to go to digital, if you're looking, CW, DX or POTA or SOTA, there's so many different areas that you can go to and branch out at, and and one of the things that gets me, and it kind of, I haven't done FD8 yet, but I'm going to, once I get my shack up and running. But it really kind of gets me because I see a lot of hams, and I'll call them, for lack of a better term, sad hams out there. That's not real ham radio. And I'm like, well, you know what? If you're communicating with somebody and they're not sitting next to you and you're using a radio, it's ham radio. Okay.
Yeah,
Whether
exactly.
it's digital, whether it's CW, it doesn't matter. That's the wonderful thing about this hobby.
Yep, that's it. That's I'm no secret. I've mentioned it several times when that topic comes up. I'm not a big digital guy myself. My heart with radio is talking to you in my voice.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could see my log, I've got a lot of FT8 contacts. And I started out with JT65, and FT8 was turbo mode when that come out. Then they come out with FT4, which was hyper speed. Couldn't hardly keep up with it. And there's just always new digital stuff in different modes. And I'm the type that if I see something new, I want to at least try it. I'll sit here and download the software if it needs software, and just try to get it to work, to say I've done it and see how it works. Now, I don't mess with, the next thing I got to learn is RIDI, because obviously a lot of people like RIDI, that I found out, and different modes similar to that, I've noticed uses a lot of the CW language and abbreviations, and I'm not very keen on that, as I'm still trying to learn my CW very slowly. But so I'm not comfortable with trying to carry on just jumping in, carry on a conversation with somebody. But that's the way to learn it, and sometimes it's just to jump in.
Yeah. Well, for me, one of the things that I did was and I think they just unfortunately closed shop. I think it was called Ham Test Online. And I used them to study for my exams. And what they did was, one of the things I really liked what they did was they rotated the question pool. So you really weren't memorizing the answer. You had to know the answer, which
Right.
which I really liked. But and this is one of the things that I think ham radio has done really well is, you go to Jason's channel, you go to Josh's channel, they're out there. I think Jason just had a technician class on. Josh has had several of them as well. we're really good at getting that information out there on how to study for and pass the exams, which I think is really good. But I think one of the places that we kind of falter a little bit, but it's really, and there's kind of a second part to this is, okay, I've got my technician license. What do I do now?
Mhm.
And I see I see some clubs, some of the better clubs, what they'll do is, they'll give somebody, say a real inexpensive Yaesu, or, probably a Baofeng, or, just an HT, congratulations, you passed your exam. We give these to everybody who's passed their exam, which I think is great. And, and it's also what I think has really kind of helped is the emergence of YouTube, as an, I'll call it for lack of a better term, an Elmer, because I can go out there. There was that guy. He was called Ham Cured Smoke, but I think it is Ham Radio A to Z now.
Mhm.
He did, like, I don't know how many. There's like 100 videos on the 7300 that he's done, and he's done like 50 or 60 of them on the 705. You know, there's a wealth of material out there and education out there. So sometimes though, if you're not hooked up with a decent club, you can kind of flounder. But that's where I think things like Discord come in real well, because I know, a lot of people, and this is one thing I've seen out on Discord, the Discord that you're on, the one that Jason's on, the one Frank's on, very helpful people. I don't really encounter sad hams here. All right. I
Yeah.
encounter people who want to help other people. And that's where I think people kind of need to gravitate towards, because, you can easily get lost after you pass and get your license. And especially if you're not, if you don't know where to go, if you don't have any steps. And I think one of the things that we probably need to do is to help prepare people after the exam what to do. Like, if you can, if ask around, or look on ARRL, see if there's a club in your area. If not, go out to Discord, join some, get on some of these YouTube channels and ask around, because I'm sure, they may, hey, I know this guy, he lives about 45 minutes from you. He would be happy to help you out, those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. And the beautiful thing about Discord, it lets us ban those sad hams and kick them out. So we keep the community clean.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and
Yeah. And
sometimes that's a little more difficult on the air to do. You have to turn to
yeah.
VFO, and sometimes they'll follow you just to aggravate you. But yeah, the Discord communities and stuff is awesome, and it's a great way for, YouTube, like we're talking right now live. Well, when the show ends, what do you do now? I mean, you may still have questions. Well, if you still got questions, you can jump on these Discord channels, and somebody's going to help you, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've done. Like, I've learned a lot from my drone channel, so I've kind of brought a lot of that over here. And one of the things I've always done is I call it my open door policy. I
Uh huh.
said you can always email me, because it's hamradiobasics@gmail.com anytime. Shoot me an email. I'll get back to you within a day. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody that does know the answer, or hook you up with someone who will know the answer. And I do that on my
Right.
drone channel as well. So I think it's important. I don't want to I know, for example, when I started out with drones, I had just a real small basic question. Somebody filmed a 10-second video to show me how to do this. And forever, that left an impression on me. And that's why I ended up starting a YouTube channel, was I want to be able to help other people with small little things like that.
Hmm.
For example, one of the videos I'm going to be doing here as I recover is, just like basic hookups for the 7300. Okay. Just, where does your cable go for your antenna? Where do your power leads go? Just some basic setups, that kind of thing. Just,
Yeah.
not getting in depth, but I want to keep it. And that's one of the things with my channel. I want to keep it at a basic level, because I know for me, when I first got started was, my gosh, how do I, what kind of power supply do I get? Do I get Anderson power poles? How do I hook them up? Just on and on and on, you know, and I really appreciated some of these basic videos out there that showed some of that information. So that's kind of some things I got coming up
Hmm.
as I heal here. And that's one thing I see on your channel. You do that as well. and I know just about everybody I've had on the show here has done that, and I think that's fantastic because I think you know I look at it like this community has given me so much already. Well, and that's one of the things I want to be able to do that in return and give
Yeah,
it back. I think it's so
exactly.
important to do that.
Yep, I agree. That's like I mentioned earlier. I come across something, if I figure it out my way, um, I try to explain it the way that I understood it, because I can watch some of these things and sometimes they're a little over my head. So I'm out in the country, and there may be somebody else out in the country that needs to understand it like I did. And
Well,
and
one of the things. No, I'm sorry.
and I was just going to say, like I pointed out earlier, they may watch me and not get it, but they may relate to you better. So that's another thing. We Jason actually mentioned this as kind of a mentor thing with some of us doing YouTube. Is you'll see so many channels do the same or do a video on the same product or something that's new, and your subscription feed just gets flooded with pretty much all the same product or whatever's new. But if you'll click through and watch them, they all got something a little different to it. Somebody may have missed a little something here that somebody picked up on, or they just explain it in a different way. And one thing he said that stuck with me is, he said, do the video, do it your way. Don't copy anybody. Just do it your way. Put the video out there. How many times or how long has books been in a bookstore? And how many of those books are the same type of storyline or something, but they're all a little different, and they're still selling. People are still reading them. So same way with video. Video is your modern day book, I guess.
Yeah, you brought up a great point from Jason. And now Jason's mentored me as well too, and he's provided a lot of great tips for me, and helped me. For example, I didn't want to step on on other people's toes as far as show times are concerned. So he got me hooked up with their Google Calendar that shows when people are doing their shows, because I don't want to step on one of his shows or Josh's shows or anyone else, Mike, Kate, MRD, or Smoking Ape,
And
or
that gets difficult these days. There's a lot of content.
yeah, and it was so nice to be able to do that, and he gave me advice regarding, for example, my T-shirts. I get them from a apparel lab, and I think they're in Alabama, and Jason hooked me up with them, and because I'm really impressed. These aren't like the T-shirts that you get, the cheap T-shirts. These are very comfortable, very durable. They're a little more expensive, but they're
Yeah.
worth it. And I was so glad that he pointed me in that direction. But he also gave you some excellent advice there. Do your thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things. One of the pieces of advice I got from someone who has a large drone channel. Basically the same thing. Do your thing, Bill. Do how you relate to people, and you'd be surprised because you know everybody's doing a new video on the latest radio that's come out, and like you said, they may have missed something, but just you cover what you're going to cover, and you may pick up what that other person misses. So it pays to watch a lot of videos and gain a lot of input from things, because you have your own flavor, you have your own style, and you just be you. You just do you. And that's some great advice that Jason passed on there. I really like that a lot. He's been a very good friend to me. I've enjoyed him. He's popped on several times on some of my shows just to jump in the chat and say hi. So I know he's like busier than a one-armed paper hanger almost all the time, and I really appreciate that a lot. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing. Huntsville's coming up. Once the dates for Huntsville?
The 19th and 20th of August. I believe
19th
that's
and
correct.
20th. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be
Okay.
those 2 days during that weekend.
So that's, and wow, 3 hours away for you.
Yeah.
I am definitely jealous of that. I looked on a, I would probably have to fly up there, because I think it'd probably be at least a 14-hour drive from where I live. I'd have to go all the way north up to Pensacola and then head on over. And that's quite a little trip. So
It is.
yeah.
We we took a vacation down to Orlando several years ago to take the kids to the Disney World, and we left and drove straight there. And once I got there, I said, I'm not driving straight back. So we took a halfway stop coming back home. So
That was a smart idea. Well, JoeBrett, I really want to thank you for stopping by and spending some time with us tonight. It was great. I really enjoyed getting to know you a little more. You have a fantastic channel,
thank you.
and his channel is in the description. If you guys, have been asleep for the past 100 years and you haven't subscribed to his channel, please do so. He does a great job, and also Discord as well too. It's one of the things I really encourage you guys. If you're not connected with Discord, please do so, because there is just so much great conversation that goes on there. I really think it's a very valuable tool, especially for us in the ham radio community. I just really are thankful for something like that. So
Right.
next week I'm supposed to have Airheads on. I don't know if you've heard of them or not. It's a husband and wife. They do POTA.
Okay.
They live up near Pensacola, Florida. So I'm really looking forward to them and to get their flavor on things. She's apparently just studying for her tech license. So it's kind of they're kind of different, and it's going to be enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, good.
Hang on here, JoeBrett,
All right.
as we close up. So I want to thank everybody in the chat tonight. We just had a great turnout in the chat tonight. Yes, KG6 NLW, he does have a great channel. So, and if you guys, please do subscribe to it. As always, guys, 7 3s, and have a great day. Take care, everybody.